Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, before we get into anything regarding the deck profile, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. I think by the time this video goes up, it's probably already past Christmas, so I hope all of you celebrated very lovely with your loved ones, your family, your friends, enjoyed a good time, enjoyed some good food, and have a fresh and good start into the new year. So, in this video today, we will talk about the Fire King deck, a deck that I started playing right when the structure deck released, pretty much on release. It's been a deck that I've been playing on and off ever since then, and a deck that I've been enjoying quite a bit. The deck has evolved quite a bit over the time, utilizing different engines. At the start, I played, for example, the Nadir engine, which was a very neat way to get to Ponix, just basically a consistency boost if you can't reach your Fire King cards. People also played the Tribegate engine at the start of the release of the deck, but it was pretty clear after a while that the Snake Eye variant has been the strongest version to play Fire King, so Snake Eye's Fire King. And with hits to Snake Eyes, but the release of the Examiner cards, and these allowing you to bridge into your Snake Eye engine, and the Snake Eye engine allowing you to bridge into your Fire King engine. Of course, Fire King Snake Eyes Examiner has been the best way to play this deck until the latest ban list that hit us this December. With the ban of OSS, this deck version is pretty much dead. There's no direct way to bridge from the Simple Spoils engine into the Snake Eye or Fire King engine, and no direct way to bridge from the Snake Eye engine into your Fire King cards. I've seen one very convoluted combo online that somebody came up with, which was very creative, big props for that, but that one was super weak to interruptions, so if you just got interrupted once, you basically ended on nothing, and there are no extenders in this kind of build, so it is not worth it. We've seen a regional top where somebody played Fire King Snake Eyes as well, and instead of the OSS, they played Snake Eye's Subversion, the spell that places a monster on the field or an opponent's monster in the spell trap zone, but also there is no clear bridge between Fire King and Snake Eyes. You just play both engines and they're both fire, so it somewhat works, but there's no direct connection. And because of that, we have to go back to a variant that I discovered last year as well for the reprint of the Snake Eye and the Fire King cards, which is the deck that we will talk about today, and that is Fire King Kashtira, which in my opinion is right now by far the best way to play your Fire King cards. Pure Fire King is also an option, but the Kashtira cards on one hand increase the ceiling of the deck, but on the other hand give you 9 to 10 more one-card starters into your Fire King engine, which is crazy. So all Planet, Fenrir and Unicorn, just as well as Terraforming, all give you 1 card or 1.5 card starters into your Fire King engine. So that's a very, very amazing consistency boost, and that we want to utilize. So let's get right into the profile. The main deck consists of 42 cards, which isn't the biggest deck count, but we had to up it a little bit from 40, simply to increase our starters and also allow us to run sufficiently enough non-engine. To start with, we're running 3 Fire King Culture Ulcanix, which is your best Fire King starter right now in the deck. We're also running 3 Ponix, your second best starter. Those two give you basically the full Fire King access, full Fire King combo. You really want to see those and get a way to access either of them too. Also running 3 Kieran. I've seen a regional list cutting Kieran entirely and just playing 40. But I think he's way too nice to dodge Imperm, to dodge Veiler, and the destruction effect to reborn a Fire King monster and or summon it from hand and destroy a card non-targeting on the board. It's just very good. We're also playing the new Fire King, Sacred Fire King Ulcanix. Obviously for Ulcanix, we're also playing the OG Ulcanix, one of Rata, which is very standard as well. And in this variant, a card that I would normally always cut, but we have to play it in this for the Kashtira combo. 1 Fire King Avada Baron. We're also playing the 1 Sanctuary and the 1 Island. And through any way of a combo, unless we get interrupted, we always end on both of them, which is why we don't need more. You could also play the Fire King Skyborn. I'm always on and off on whether I should play the card or not, but I've decided to cut it in order to increase the consistency in order to increase potential starters. But it's a very good option, so if you want to run it, there are very good reasons for it. It's a very nice search target for Ponix if you hard draw either one of these two, especially if you high draw the Sanctuary, and as well it's a very good interruption on the opponent's turn or going second on your turn as well. Our secondary engine is the Kashtira engine, and this one also being very good, especially going first, but also very good going second. The first and probably most important card for us is Kashtira Unicorn. We also play this one at 3, and we also play at 3 Kashtira Fenrir. Both of them are starters for a deck that bring us the full Fire King combo. Especially Fenrir, if you draw him together with a fire monster, can give you the full Fire King combo without locking you into XYZs, which Unicorn does, but more to that later. We're also playing the 1 Kashtira Rysart, 3 planets, 1 birth, and 1 Theosis. For the first set of non-engine that kind of help with boosting the consistency or securing a place, playing 1 Pot of Prosperity, 1 Terraforming as a basically 4th copy of the planet, and 1 Called by the Grave. We also have room for 12 hand traps, and that is in our case 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Ghost Ogre, 3 Mourner, and probably the best hand trap still next to Ash is 3 Imperm. The reason why we're playing these ones is that I think Ghost Ogre is still very nice, especially against continuous spell traps, field spells, effects for cards that need to stay on the field. For example, Dual Drive needs to detach on board. If you ogre it first, can't resolve. At the same time, Mourner I think could be experimentally nice compared to Veiler, even though Veiler usually is better because it can hit normal summons as well, which Mourner can. But Mourner is active under Shifter, which is played quite a bit at my locals at times. And it also has the additional benefit that you can use it in any phase and on your own turn, which you can't do with Veiler. Veiler's main phase only. And if your opponent should reborn the detonator or summon it again on your turn, you can use Mourner and try to negate it. Of course, it can just pop itself, but that is your play after they already used the reborn spell. So I think Mourner is very nice for that part. Also, with other cards that are summoned on your turn or in other phases of the duel, this one is very nice, I think. For the extra deck, we're running 10 Links and 5 XYZs. For the Link 1, we just have the Relinquish Anima, Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, the Heater, Nightmare Phoenix, and the IP Masquerena. Of course, with IP, also the SP, and Promethean Princess at 1, the Amloel. Now I'm playing Access Code Talker and the Underworld Goddess, and these two I would usually cut for Zelentis and Raging Phoenix for the OTK line, but I don't have a Raging Phoenix, and I think then Access Code Talker just as well does the job as the Zelentis does for the OTK, but probably better if you don't have the Raging Phoenix. And Underworld Goddess is just a flex spot to clear annoying monsters, annoying towers that you can't usually get rid of. For XYZs, we're playing the rank 7 Raid Raptor Arsenal Falcon. This is the MVP of the extra deck, except for the typical Fire King stuff like Promethean Princess and Emblem Whale. But this one bridges your Fire King cards, your Kashtira. But this one bridges your Kashtira cards into your Fire King engine, and thus it's very important for this build. I'm also playing another rank 7, and that is the Dracossack. One rank 1, that is the Fucho for a place under Shifter, simply to survive a turn, because Shifter completely cooks this deck. Playing the rank 8 Ulcanix and the rank 8 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. There are a few flex spots, and that would be the Phoenix, the Dracossack, and X-Code Talker and the Promethean Princess. You don't really need any of those, and you can play around with it. I like the Phoenix a lot for spell trap removal, especially since I'm not running the Fire King Skyborn, but these are all options you can potentially cut and replace for other cards. For the side deck, and this one is definitely not very complete, and I'll say it in every video where I show off a side deck, adjust this to your locals or to the tournament you're going to and the kind of meta you expect there. For time option, because I don't have the OG Kirin anymore, somehow gave it away in my bulk, we're playing the Red Ice Flare Fire Metal Dragon, which just is our burn time option, but the OG Kirin with the volcanic shell is way better for that. We're playing the Meteorologic Aggregator with 3 Ultimate Slayer. This is primarily for your Rizal matchup, but last locals, I didn't play it in this deck, but another one. You hit other XYZ decks as well. If it's Goblin Biker, if it's Exo Sisters, Sharks, whatever, they also eat this card very nicely. We're also playing the 3 Artifact Lancia, primarily for Malice. Very annoying for them, very good for us. It's usually somewhat of a turn skip, so it's very good. I'm playing the 1 Viking Skyburn. I think this one is kind of mandatory in your side if you don't play it in the main. It's way too good not to use it. Also for Rizal Hate, playing the Deep Area. If they're on Rizal Fiendsmith, they obviously can still extend through that. I play with the Fiendsmith cards, and the Fiendsmith engine is quite resilient. They play big non-engine or hand trap counts, so they can probably still play and put up a decent board. But this card just kind of cooks any deck that isn't link based. And just for the shits and giggles, because it's back on 3, we're playing the Pankratops. But if I would take it very seriously, we wouldn't play the Pankratops. But for example, instead we would play 3 copies of Evenly as a board breaker for going second, depending on the matchup. Sometimes you can just go with your hand traps. This could also be 3 Bureau, for example. But I think Evenly is very nice as a board breaker. You could pair it even with other board breakers. You could even include cards for Ultimate Slayer for link decks, for example. So you can cook a little bit of Malice. You could go with the, I think it's Shirek or Amphocephalus that can send a Winged Beast monster from the extra deck. So you could send Garura to draw 1 card. And for fusion decks, then you have Garura right away. So this is another option for that as well. That's it for the side deck. Let's go into the basic combos. The very first combo that I want to show off is the very basic 1-card Ponix Viking combo that hasn't changed ever since the deck released. If you just draw the Ponix and no other important cards, you will go Ponix as a normal summon in your main phase to add your Viking Sanctuary. And then activate the Viking Sanctuary, and on activation we can place the Viking Island in our field spell zone. We then use the effect of Viking Island, destroying the Ponix, to search our copy of Ulcanix. The Sacred Viking Ulcanix will then activate in hand to special summon itself, and on summon we can destroy a Viking monster from our hand, field or deck, and we will destroy our Viking Baron. Then this is already where you would, if you have no other cards to extend, end the turn. Pass over to your opponent, and in the standby phase, both Baron and Ponix will activate. Ponix is mandatory to add itself back to hand, and Baron, as he was destroyed, since Baron was destroyed, we will search for a copy of Viking High-Avatar Kirin. At any point during the main phase, we can use the effect of Kirin to summon itself by destroying the Ponix in our hand, which will then be able to add back in the next standby phase, summon itself out. And at any point where we feel like it, when our opponent special summons a monster, we can use the Viking Sanctuary to overlay the Ulcanix and the Kirin for a copy of the Ulcanix Young, the rank 8, which will blow up the entire field. This is just a very basic combo, which doesn't look like much, but if you can just pull this off with nothing, it's better than nothing. And of course, if you have no other cards to play, no other Viking cards or Kashtira cards, you will usually have more non-engine in the hand, which will also stop your opponent from playing. So it's better than it actually just looks. But this is just a very basic combo. Let's get into the more advanced combo using Ulcanix. The second combo I'll show off is a variant of the 1.5 card combo using Ulcanix as a normal summon. And for this we need another fire monster in hand, which is here in this example a copy of Ash. We will normal summon our copy of Ulcanix, and on summon activate her effect, destroying another fire monster in hand or on field to search a Viking monster, which will be a copy of Ponix, and we will also modulate her level to the level of the added monster, which will be level 1. We then use the effect of Ponix to special summon itself because a fire monster was destroyed, and activate the effect on summon to search a copy of Viking Sanctuary. Should we have gotten shifted in between, we can overlay these two into a copy of Fucho and play through Shifter. But since we don't need that right now, we'll just play along as regularly. We'll activate the Fire King Sanctuary to place us our copy of Fire King Island on the field. Then use the effect of Island, destroying the Ulcanix, not the Ponix, to grab us our copy of the Runix, just like before. Here we use the Ulcanix effect as channeling 1 to summon out the OG Garunix, and the effect of Garunix to special summon itself. On summon, Garunix will destroy a fire monster from field, hand or deck, and we will destroy from our deck the copy of Fire King Avatar Avrada. Avatar will trigger since it was destroyed, and we summon out our copy of Ulcanix from the graveyard. And now we start link climbing. First, we'll use 2 of our monsters to go into our copy of IP Masquerena. Then link these off into a copy of Promethean Princess. Use the effect of Promethean Princess, targeting the Avatar to summon him out. And then we link these 2 off into our copy of Ambler Whale. And this is basically already our end board. Here we have multiple layered interruptions, which I'll show off in just a second. If we pair this with our non-engine, so our hand traps, cards like Coldbite, we're basically cooking. We have a very elaborate setup in the graveyard, some hand traps, we're good. On the opponent's turn, at any point where we feel threatened, we can use the effect of our Avada to negate a monster effect, and for this we will destroy the Ambler Whale. Here we have 2 triggers, which is on one hand the Ambler Whale, which can, if it was destroyed, summon back out a Link 3 or lower from the graveyard, which would be our IP Masquerena, and we trigger the Garunix to special summon itself back out again. The Garunix on summon can destroy us a copy of Kirin from our deck, which will then trigger to summon back out a Fire King monster from our graveyard or hand, and non-targeting we don't have to, but we can destroy a monster from field. Here we have multiple choices. For example, if we want to be able to go into a rank 8 Xyz, we can, for example, summon back out the Avatar, the OG Garunix, but we can also just as well summon out a copy of Ulcanix, destroy the Avatar to search something, which is what we would do here. Summon back out the Ulcanix effect, destroy the Avatar to search another copy of Kirin. To add to our hand, and Avada on a new chain can, for example, summon back out the Garunix. We can use IP Masquerena to link into a copy of SP, and our spear effect on summon can banish a card from the field or graveyard. If our opponent special summons a monster, we can summon out the copy of the XYZ Garunix, blow up the field. We also have options. If our opponent special summons a monster, we can use the Promethean Princess from grave, destroying one of our fire monster, one of their monsters to summon her out. And we still have the Ambler Whale in grave. If a link monster is destroyed, we can banish him for cost in the graveyard, and then target a card on the field to destroy it. So we have a ton of interruptions. We have Ambler Whale 1, IP into SP2, Promethean Princess 3, Garunix into Kirin 4, Avada 5, and the OG Garunix 6. So we have at least 6 interruptions, if I didn't miss anything, in order to stop our opponent from playing, plus the additional engine we have in our hand. So this is a ton of ways to play. If need be, we can also trigger this one to destroy it, to special summon itself back out in our next standby phase and to blow up the field again. So this is a very, very good end board if you ask me. So the question still remains, how do we bridge our Kashtira engine into the Fire King engine? And for the first combo I will show off, we need any of these 3 cards. Here we'll just start with the Terraforming, and we don't need anything else. These are all 1-card starters in our combo. Here we start with Terraforming in the main phase to search our copy of the Pressure Planet. We activate Ravestorf. On activation it will search us our copy of Kashtira Unicorn. We then special our copy of Unicorn, use its effect to search Kashtirioses. If we already have Theosis in our hand, we can use Birth as a search target because it will extend and be a nice endboard piece. But on the other way around, if we have Birth, we can use it and search the Kashtirioses. Either way works. But you always need access in this combo to Theosis. We then activate the Oasis, targeting the Unicorn. Now we're locked into XYZs to special summon a Kashtira monster from our deck with a different attribute in defense position. Here we'll summon our copy of Fenrir. We then use Fenrir effect to search a Kashtira monster, which will be a copy of Kashtira Rysart, which will grant us access to a fire monster. We then overlay these two into our copy of Raid-Trap the Arsenal Falcon and use its effect, detaching one material to special summon out a Winged Beast level 4 or lower from our deck, which will be our copy of Ulcanix. Activate the Ulcanix effect, destroying a fire, searching a Ponix again. Ponix effect on resolution to special summon itself, and on summon searches us our Sanctuary. We activate the Sanctuary, which places our Fire King Island on the board. And here we have Fire King access, but the only issue we have, we can't link line. We need to play with our XYZs. We activate the effect, destroy Ulcanix again to search the Sacred Fire King Garunix. And on a new chain, chainlink one Ulcanix, chainlink two Garunix. Garunix will special summon itself, and Ulcanix will summon out the OG Garunix. We now activate the effect of Garunix on summon to destroy a copy of Baron from the deck. We now overlay these two into a copy of Galaxy Ice Photon Lord, which grants us a monster negate. And this is already where we end our turn. In the standby phase, with Baron, we will search our copy of Kirin, and at any point if we feel threatened by a monster effect, we use the Photon Lord to negate it, and we have to detach the Sacred Fire King Garunix, which is very important. At any point now, we can use the Kirin from hand, destroying the Ponix to special summon itself out, and then our Garunix from the graveyard will trigger, and on summon we can, for example, destroy another Kirin to revive a Fire King monster, a Ponix, or we can even use the Ulcanix for search effect, and non-targeting destroy a card on the board. And here you can see we already have a monster negate, a destruction, and with the Sanctuary we can overlay these two again into a copy of Hyang to blow up the board, while having no access to Fire King cards to start with, plus additional non-engine in the hand. So, as you can see, the Kashtira engine bridges nicely into the Fire King engine. Of course, we're locked into XYZs, which lowers the ceiling of the deck if we have to go through these combos, but we can very much still play, and usually, if you have a hand like this, without a Fire King monster, you have non-engine in your hand, which of course can interrupt the opponent on their turn as well. I also told you that Fenrir is a starter for this deck, but in opposite to Unicorn, it's a 1.5 card starter, but it has the advantage that you can play around the XYZ slot. I'll show two combos with Fenrir. One that's on the same end board as Unicorn, but you need a fire in hand. And the other one doesn't XYZ lock you, but you still need the fire in hand. So we go same as before. Pressure Planet adds our copy of Fenrir this time though, special summon itself, use its effect to add our copy of Rysart. And here we have two different routes. We can normal summon it, and we're not XYZ locked, or we can use its effect to special summon it, since we have a Kashtira monster on board and now we're XYZ locked. Here we'll special summon it first. We then use its effect, banishing a Kashtira card from our deck to modulate its level to level 7, and banish the top 3 cards from our opponent's deck. We can then overlay these two into our copy of Raid-Trap the Arsenal Falcon. We see where this is going. We detach a material, summoning out the Ulcanix. Ulcanix effect, destroy a fire monster from our hand or field. Search our Ponix. Ponix to special summon. Ponix at Sanctuary. We activate Sanctuary. Place our Fire King Island on board. Island effect, we destroy Ulcanix. To search our Garunix. Chaining up one Ulcanix, chaining to Garunix to special summon. And Ulcanix will summon out the OG Garunix. Garunix now on summon will destroy the Barang from deck. We overlay these two into Photon Lord, and on the opponent's standby phase, Barang will add us a copy of Kirin, and we're on the same board but with one less card in hand. Told you we can also play around the XYZ lock with Fenrir, so let's just do that. Same thing, Planet searches Fenrir, and here we special summon Fenrir and add our copy of Rysart again when we activate its effect. Here we normal summon the Rysart, and then just as well again use its effect, banishing the Unicorn to modulate its level to level 7. We overlay these two again, and special summon the Raid-Trap the Arsenal Falcon use its effect, detaching one material, to special summon out the copy of Ulcanix again. Here, we use Ulcanix effect, destroying a fire monster from hand or field, search our copy of Ponix, Ponix effect to special summon itself, and on summon searches the Sanctuary. We again activate Sanctuary and place a copy of Fire King Island on the board. We then already use these two to go into a copy IP because you can very easily clock your board. Then we use the copy of Fire King Island, destroying our Ulcanix, searching our copy of Garunix. We then again chainlink one Ulcanix to summon out the OG Garunix in defense position and chainlink two Garunix to special summon itself. Garunix on summon again will destroy fire monster from deck. Here we again pick the Avada, and Avada effect can summon back any of our fire monsters. Here we pick the Ponix. We then link these two off into our copy of Promethean Princess, activate Promethean Princess, summoning back out our copy of Avada. We then link these two off into our copy of Amluel. In the end phase, Ponix will be destroyed, and we end on the same end board as before using the Kashtira cards, and we can play with the same interruptions as I showed you before. Of course, if you at any point have Theosis in hand, you can recycle back the Unicorn or Fenrir for a better end board. Especially Unicorn, I think, is a very good option because your opponent really has to think if they want to use a monster effect as a hand trap or as an interruption, because you can always rip out important end board pieces from the extra deck. Same with Fenrir, banishing a card face down from the field is always super obnoxious, but the Kashtira monsters aren't the craziest against Razors, so keep that in mind. But this is the way to play this combo with Fenrir without being locked into XYZs. You just need a fire monster in hand, so it's basically the same combo as the Ulcanix one, but if you have Birth in hand, you can extend and put one of your Kashtira monsters back on board and have these as a nice end board piece as well. So that's it for the combos. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.